Charli XCX is back. John Cale. House. Let's talk about it.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. This Monday night, witness the end of an era. John Cena takes center stage for his final appearance ever on Monday Night Raw. One last match, one unforgettable farewell. Come celebrate the legacy of a true WWE legend. Monday Night Raw, November 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, only on Netflix. Be there for the moment everyone will be talking about.
How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Music Reviews, Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we got a pretty good episode for you today. We got Charli XCX has returned to making music. Y'all know we've talked about Charli XCX on this show. I remember we talked about 360 when that song came out. Then we talked about the deluxe, in 2024, I think. It was like the tail end of that. I think so. I don't remember. It was a long time ago, Not really a long time ago, but hey, it was like 5 months or something like that. So it's honestly been quite a while. And apparently, Charli XCX is having a new album called Wuthering Heights. Apparently, that's the title of the album. I saw it on the official Charli XCX account, so I'm assuming this is the new rollout for the new album, which is kind of crazy to think we are already in time for maybe another album from Charli XCX, which would be honestly insane. But, we did only get a deluxe, so having an actual project that's not, full of remixes, this could be actually really entertaining. Apparently, also, the new sound is going to be nothing like her last album, so this is going to be, a completely different experience when you're listening to this shit. So this song right here, House, I do have to be honest with y'all.
Hey there, it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta with some exciting news to share. CNN is now streaming. That means you can read, watch, and stream everything in one subscription. You can watch news live 24/7. You can also explore catch-up videos and explainer videos, and you can also watch the library of CNN's originals, including my latest documentary, It Doesn't Have to Hurt. Just go to cnn.com/all-access.
One of my main tropes that I don't like is talking, and sadly, I was really hoping John Cale was only like an intro thing, but sadly John Cale is in the whole entire song, just yapping fucking away, talking his ass off. And look, I was really trying to give it a chance, guys. I was trying to give the talking a chance, but I think John Cale did his thing on here. He sounds, old and sinister, and, he sounds like, he's ready to, die in a house, and that's what he kind of sounds like in this song. So that's definitely something. But, hey, I thought, this is not much of a song. This is kind of, like 20 seconds at max a song. So I was thinking, we can just talk about the music video and what we could be getting from this new album, and what I'm already, kind of foaming in the head of what could be coming out for the new Charli XCX album, which I will be there to talk about. I will be there to cover. I won't miss this time, Look, last time, her last album, I kind of missed the wave. I missed the whole thing. Let's just say that, I got occupied with other stuff. But look, guys, hey, look. I'm trying my best, I'm trying to keep up with the pop stuff. So I will definitely be here for the next album release, whatever this album is going to be. But going into this album, and going into what this album could be, starting off, I do want to say before we even get into the music video, let's just talk about what there is in the elements of the music. And I do like the rock element. Let's just talk about, what's in the song, what do you do?
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
You do get some cool violins that are in this song. You know, Rosalia's been doing these kind of, you know, using that orchestra kind of violin sound. But this is more of that kind of darker. Like, this is that dark symphony kind of, you know, violin sound. And I do like that, you know. It kind of reminds me of, you know, like horror movies, etc. If you ever, you know, watch that type of stuff or hear that type of stuff, you know, they kind of use these same sounds. And, you know, I do like how the violin and the background effects really do work together on here. But there's also something that I do really enjoy, and I honestly wish it could have been, you know, an actual, like, song instead of, you know, mostly talking. And then, you know, there's, like, 20 seconds of a goddamn song. I mean, Lord mighty. But the part that I do like is that these kind of, you know, dark violin strings, they kind of, you know, morph into a whole-ass guitar instrumental, a whole-ass rock guitar instrumental that overall sounds really fire, in my opinion, and actually sounds pretty good. I was kind of surprised of how, like, good this shit sounded. I was like, oh, wait a second, you know, you got these really nice, dark-ass, you know, electronic kind of guitars that are kind of, you know, pouring through this entire goddamn instrumental. And honestly, I think that's kind of the more fire parts of this song. And then you have, you know, of course, you know, Charli XCX screaming how she's gonna die in this house. And, you know, going into that, I was wondering, you know, how does that sound? You know, how's the auto-tune screaming you're gonna die in the house sounds? You know, hey, it definitely sounds like how I said it. You know, you're definitely gonna die, you know, in that house. But, you know, it kind of, you know, makes me wonder, is there going to be some rock elements into this album? Is there going to be moments where, you know, you're actually going to hear, you know, maybe Charli XCX kind of, you know, experimenting with more rock, scream-like elements, which you definitely get on this song right here. Now, do I like the scream elements? I think that's the main question. I'm going to be real. You know, I liked it in the beginning. You know, I liked how she was screaming she's going to die in this house in the beginning. You know, that auto-tune effect was actually pretty cool. And then as it kept going on, you know, there's this kind of, you know, higher pitch auto-tune that's kind of, you know, being, you know, blasted through, you know, under this kind of, you know, dark electronic guitar instrumental. So I didn't really enjoy that part of the song, I will be real with you. And then it just kind of ends. It kind of just goes from there. So that's kind of all you get music-wise from this new kind of era that's kind of happening here. So not much really there, but there is a lot to this music video. You know, this music video kind of reminds me of kind of, you know, older kind of gothic horror movie. I like how it's kind of shot. The shots are pretty cool. I do like how Cale does his thing on here. You know, he looks like one of those, you know, looks like one of those old priests. You know, one of those old priests that are in those old ass 70s, 80s movies. And, you know, you kind of see Cale kind of in that role there. I was seeing, you know, burning, I guess you could say burning herself. You know, I won't say her cutting herself, you know, not the emo way, but it's kind of like the emo way of, you know, taking, you know, a candle and cutting all over your arms and legs and burning that all up. So that's, you know, kind of the gothic, you know, emo way of cutting yourself, which is pretty goddamn funny in my opinion. I'd say this music video is pretty cool. I like how it's shot, I like how it's all done. So that's kind of how I feel about the music video. Now, what am I feeling about, you know, what this album could be like? Now, based on what I got from this sound here, we are going to get a experimental-ass project. Kind of like how Rosalia has done, you know, kind of using a lot of those, you know, choir, classical elements. I think this is kind of going to go in that direction of kind of dark, that dark classical, that kind of, you know, that dark synthy, that kind of, you know, dark violin, that kind of dark wave sound that's going to definitely be explored throughout this project. Maybe we're going to get some rock elements that are kind of baked in.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Into here too, I think that could be really fire. You know, kind of combine genres. I love a good fuse of genres. I like it when you can really do that. You know, it's really pretty fire if you can actually do that really well. Some artists can't do that, some can. But I think, Charli XCX, I think she can easily do that type of stuff. So yeah, guys, that's what I'm kind of expecting. That's what I'm thinking we're going to be getting, a really experimental-ass album. My only thing is that I hope that we are going to get some songs, not fucking a whole talking and an instrumental. I'm really don't really enjoy that. Can we get some fucking music? That's what I really would fucking say. Can we get some goddamn music? So Charli XCX, John Cale House. I don't know how to really rate this one. I mean, it's definitely something. I'll give it a 5 for effort, for, the look at the music video, for John Cale doing his thing. But this isn't really much of a goddamn song. So, 5 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys.
Men need a store that has the right thing for their thing. Like a Kenneth Cole suit made with Choflex fabric to keep them cool at their cousin-in-law's 3rd wedding in the middle of July. Whatever the thing, Men's Warehouse has the clothes for it. Love the way you look, Men's Warehouse.
Guys, we're dropping new content every single day, and I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Yeah, guys. Bye.